This is Samuel from Animal.
This is Adrian Cowan from Seven Spires.
This is Mike from Devil Driver. Hi, this is Mark from Dragon Force.
This is Nora from Battle Beast, and you're listening to the Great Metal Debate Podcast.
Everyone listen up, gather round. The podcast is back with another metal artist interview. I'm joined by one of my all-time faves, singer Matt Barlow of Ashes of Aries. Matt, thank you so much for coming on The Great Metal Debate.
Hey, thanks for having me on, dude.
Well, before we talk about the band and the new album, and I do want to focus mostly on that, for those who might not be as familiar with your work as I am, could you give us a brief synopsis of your musical career and journey?
So back in the 90s, I moved down to Florida with my brother, and we had a band together called Cauldron. It was not the Cauldron that actually made popularity or money, but another one. And while I was down there, I was able to meet up with John from Iced Earth and fill in for them after they had lost their second singer, and they were looking for a new guy. And so I got the gig after much ado, and so I was with Iced Earth for a long time, over well over 10, 12 years, I think. So yeah, so that was me. I was with for many records, and then I left Iced Earth, or was asked to leave actually asked to leave Iced Earth, and got into another career, and then went back with them for a little stint after they had Tim Owen singing for them for 2 records, and then I went back. That I did 1 record, and then I was out again. It was certainly my decision to be out at that point, and then they continued on. And after that, I got together with Freddie Vidalis, who we met when I went back to Iced Earth the second time, and we hit it off really well, and we remained friends even when he kept going with Iced Earth. So whenever he was done with the band, after a record and after another record and a touring session, we got together and started writing music. And so that product of that is Ashes of Aries. So, and here we are now in 2018 with our sophomore release, Well of Souls,
which is an outstanding record I want to focus on a lot. Going back to your beginnings in music, I guess I'm curious, is being a singer and musician something you see as an essential part of your identity, having done it for so many years, or can you actually imagine maybe a counterfactual universe where the Matt Barlow that I know from so many great albums never picked up the mic?
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess there certainly could be that universe. It certainly could be one where maybe I didn't necessarily go in the direction of metal, as well. And it's not not that I think that everything happens for a reason, in a kind of the big picture thing. I say that a lot. I know part of it is planning. You plan and you do things, and you set goals for yourself and try to attain those goals. But, yeah, I mean, I guess there's that possibility. I've always sort of been an entertainer. I've been a ham all my life. So even when I was a little kid, I'd throw on some Elvis Presley, my dad's Elvis Presley 45s, and, dance, do the Elvis thing around the room. And, so I think that was always kind of in my blood a bit. But, yeah, there was a time after I left Iced Earth that I was really concentrating on, I wasn't really concentrating on music so much, and so I didn't even really think about it. But it's really hard, man. It's, I think once you have that bug in it and it's in your blood, and you know that, at least you feel at least that you've got a gift. Somebody's been given, you've been given a gift and you feel like you need to use it. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it, man. Even if I was just going out and writing songs for myself out in my studio, I think that's a very good thing. It's very cathartic, and it helps, just, it's a good place for me to go and kind of work my aggressions out. I'm not necessarily an aggressive person, but everybody has aggressions, and so I think it's really good to put it into music form, and for that I'm thankful that metal found me and I found metal. So there we go.
And how young were you when you started to sing and kind of felt that pull? And I know you're a dad now. Is that something that you encourage in your own child or children?
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing, man. And I certainly encourage them to do whatever they like. I'm not pushing them in a direction. I'm not, they're not necessarily, they do like music. Both of them do. But they're not like going out of their way. They don't seem to have that, that thing. They're not like, hey, let me pick up that guitar. Let me do this or that. My youngest, he sings to like all the songs. He's constantly singing. So I'm thinking that maybe he's got that bug a little bit. But that's basically how I started, man. I didn't pick up a guitar. I didn't pick up the drums or anything like that. I basically started singing in a school band. I sang in choir. I sang in a high school rock band, and basically I was a one guy out of like 20 people that were singing. Everybody wanted to sing parts and stuff like that. So I was just actually my nickname at that point was Japs, just another fucking singer, because that's what I was. So it's like in a giant group of people that were singers. So I wasn't the guitar guy. I wasn't the drummer. I didn't play keyboards. Didn't do any of that. And so basically, I just started working on that instrument and kind of went from there. And I ended up being in a rock band outside of that. Got a little heavier. Then I started jamming with my brother. Got a little bit heavier with that. Even more. And I at that point, I was listening to heavy music and all that, but it was just a matter of finding my voice and knowing what I could do with it and things like that. And then obviously, I worked on that. I worked on, doing things. I was doing things a little thrashier. And then when I got with Iced Earth, I really expanded myself, even more, and kind of pushed the envelope for myself and for the band. It was really necessary, man. Because I was filling really big shoes with Iced Earth when I went in after Night of the Storm Rider, because John Greeley was, is a really great vocalist, and I was, just to do those parts, I really needed, to do a lot of things, filling in and doing songs that Gene Adam and John Greeley had done. It was a lot, and I was coming from a thrash metal kind of a vibe with Cauldron, and so I had to expand my horizons, and I've been trying to do that ever since. So.
Well, and certainly Ashes of Aries has continued that. You said you met Freddie during his time with Iced Earth. Did you all have any preliminary discussions? Was it clear that maybe you guys were had the same mindset musically about maybe what you might accomplish on a future project, or did that come about later?
I don't really think it. We didn't really have any. I knew that Freddie, is an accomplished musician. He's a really good musician. He can play guitar, bass, drums. He can pretty much do it all. I don't know if he plays. I'm not sure if he plays. Well, I know he does play keyboard some, because he does write some bits and parts like that and keys. But we don't really highlight that kind of stuff in Ashes. But I knew he was a writer, and I knew that he and I hit it off. I think more than anything was our friendship. And then when he started, we had talked about doing something together, and I was definitely game for it whenever he left Ice Earth and said, "Hey, man, we talked about this on tour. You want to, throw some ideas back and forth?" And so when we did, and the stuff that he was giving me, I was like, "Yeah, man, this sounds great." And so, it basically just went from there, and it worked out really well for us. I think, our friendship is that, and our, mutual respect is that we can, discuss things and create music together, and it's just a really relaxed, cool vibe. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive right in to talk about your new album, Well of Souls, released just this November 9th. As you said, the sophomore release from Ashes of Aries. First, how long have these particular songs been in the works?
A couple of them more than others. So we started writing, not too long after I'm not gonna say not too long, probably about a year after the first record was out. We started, writing. I think Freddie had some stuff written, but we weren't really going into it too much. And then we had, Freddie and Van had worked out some arrangements on some of the songs. Some of the arrangements that they worked on didn't make it onto the record, but some of them did as well. So it's kind of a mixed bag. And then there was a hiatus there. Van's wife was diagnosed with cancer, and a lot of time was taken off for that. Obviously, Van needed to take care of his wife, and we certainly understood that. So in the meantime, he had also had some other things going on with Ghost Ship Octavius. It's hard for me to say that. But that ended up kind of taking more of his attention. And so, when he left the band, then we started kind of retooling as well. And Freddie ended up, again, like he did, he plays drums, but he was, more programming drums at this point, and really kind of finalizing these songs. And then we were working on some other songs. And so we got stuff together, and it was and I can't remember which songs we've been working on the longest or whatever, where they've sort of been a mismatch of things. I do know that the trilogy sort of came together about the same time. I had some ideas, like Let All Despair sort of started out as the main melody for the song. That started out, I wrote that main melody, and then we kind of turned it into I basically said, okay, this is the melody I have for the verses, which are actually verse and chorus. It's kind of a weird song because it doesn't really have like a verse chorus kind of a thing. It's just basically like this. The melody is the melody going through each verse. It just sort of changes depending on how heavy the guitars are, the guitar parts are. So I don't know if anybody's noticed that or not, but that's sort of the way that song is. And so with that main melody, I gave it to Freddie and said, okay, so now you're gonna take this and make it a song. And so he did, and so I had other ideas that I wanted to do, so I used some of what Freddie had written for some other stuff, and then I created the other melodies and things like that, and continued on with the story. And so that's kind of where we ended up. So
did the story that created this trilogy, was that something that you that you've been kind of brewing for a while, and that just found itself in the melody and Freddie's work, or did you guys hash that out? How did that come to be?
No, it kind of came together with, actually it's funny because the second song is actually part of a song that I was writing, but Freddie ended up making it a little heavier. So In the Darkness is kind of a combination of ours as well. I had this more of this rock kind of sound, which that comes through a little bit as well. It's more of a rock song, probably than any of the other ones on the record. And Freddie just heavied it up. He made it a lot heavier, and so it worked out perfectly. It was great foil for In the Darkness. Basically the whole trilogy started out with so Let All Despair was basically where the story started, and that's where it all started, and I just sort of built on it from there. So it actually kind of worked out perfectly that was the main thing, and then these other songs kind of just worked in with that, and it worked out really well for us. And then it's kind of weird. There's no recipe for the way that we write. It just kind of happens, and so that's good, I think, for us. It works out really well. And then the cool thing is Freddie and I have a great relationship. So if something sounds like shit, then we say, "Hey man, that kind of sounds like shit. Let's redo that." So, and we kind of go from there. So it's not a problem at all with that. And so I don't know if I answered your question. I may be rambling.
No, that's fine. Those three songs, I guess, to me, I didn't realize when I first heard the album that those three songs formed that arc, and I enjoyed them all. To me, those were three of the best songs on the album, so it was interesting to me to later find out how they worked together, and when I started listening to the lyrics. And I guess I'm actually curious if you have finished the story there, or if you think that maybe you could have continuation in a song or songs on upcoming Ashes Aries releases.
Yeah, and that's certainly a possibility, man. I mean, I sort of I did leave a big question mark on the end of the whole thing, and there's I think there's spaces in between to fill in. I mean, I think that there's questions. I mean, I have questions. I mean, what is the darkness? You know what I mean? What is it? Does it actually have a name? Is it a physical thing? Is it a spiritual thing? Is it is it metaphoric? I mean, I want those answers too. So, but at the same time, I want people to, and I do. I encourage feedback. If people get excited about it, which I hope they do, I hope that they give me feedback, because they might feed me some answers. You know what I mean?
Well,
and
Matt,
that could be.
That segues into another question I had about feedback. You and Freddie recently did a tongue-in-cheek video responding to some fan messages, which was hilarious. And I guess I wonder, from a fan perspective, and on our podcast, we try to talk about, what's the best way for fans to interact with musicians. I wonder, from your perspective as an artist, what's the proper place for fans to provide criticism back to the artist? Or is it the case that, the old adage, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all?
Yeah, well, no, and man, I'm all for criticism, as long as it's tasteful. Don't in my opinion, getting on there and saying something like you guys sound like shit. That's not respectful. It's not a criticism. It's just people's lack of ability to I guess convey an idea. That's me saying it nicely. But that's the way it should be. I mean, I don't have any problem if people don't like something and they say it in a respectful way. I'm cool with that. It may not change my view, and it may not change the way that I do things, but I may look at it a little nicer. As soon as you come at me with like derogatory stuff, you've lost your argument already. So I'm just gonna go, whoop, you're gone. So yeah, you know what I mean. I don't mind like good solid criticism, especially if somebody can produce some credentials and say, hey man, I'm an engineer, maybe you could do this better this way the next time and it might sound better. I mean, that's actual criticism that works. If it's just a matter of opinion or a matter of musical taste, we might not ever see eye to eye, and that's cool too. I mean, that's the cool thing about it, man. That's why there's so much music out there, so many different varieties of music. I'm completely cool with that, and that's still a respectful way to say it. Hey, it doesn't really work for me. That sound doesn't really, or I don't really like. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I don't really like your voice. That's cool too, man, because there's tons of singers out there that they're very popular, like super popular, and their voice just is like nails on a chalkboard. I may have that reaction to some people. It's that's totally understandable, and I totally understand that, because personally, and it's nothing against them as a singer. It's just that it doesn't work for my ears, So that is fine. That's a respectful way to do things. But when it's just like, I don't know,
Sounds like
the
best approach for fans is bring some knowledge and show some respect when you are giving criticism.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, man. I don't expect people to blow sunshine at my butt. You know what I mean? I mean, if they don't like it, they don't like it. That's fine. I don't need people to blow sunshine at my butt. I mean, I definitely appreciate the kudos, and I really try to get on like social media, man. I get on there and I thank people. You know, I mean, hey, thanks for the comment, and even if it's a criticism, as long as it's a respectful one, man, I'm hey, cool, thank you. You know, thanks for the input. You know, I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. So. And like I said, if you do want to contact us on social media is a good way to do it. We try to keep our footprint out there on social media to keep people informed and to keep ourselves informed of what they're thinking. So
I do want to take a moment to touch on a few more tracks from the album Well of Souls. The first one in particular, Consuming the Manna, that's a real headbanger. It seems like it gives you as a singer an opportunity to show off your range. How fun was that one to sing?
Oh, that was a great one, man. And the cool thing about that song is that started out as a death metal song that Freddie had written. So that's one of those ones that we definitely had, and we knew kind of what direction we were going to go with it. But and quite frankly, like the chorus is almost exactly like Freddie's delivery, but it's just got a little bit more melody to it, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's very guttural, but I tried to put as much melody in there as possible. And his version was a little less melody and a little more just straight up, death vocals. And then, just wanted to blend a little bit more with the kind of the nicer, I want to say the nicer voice in the verses. But yeah, it's fun, man. And I love when that chorus kicks in, man. And it's just rip your head off time. That's why we picked that song as the opener, man. And we both knew it. We were like, Consuming's got to be the opener. And then he had the idea for doing the intro with Jonah and utilizing Jonah to do the intro, and I think that worked out really well too. So, and I think that'll probably end up no spoilers or anything, but it'll probably end up being a good opener for a show as well.
I would certainly endorse that. It's a great one. And the song Unworthy, that was an interesting one to me. It has an upbeat tempo, yet it's kind of a creepy, almost depressant vibe. What was your inspiration for that one lyrically?
Yeah, with a lot of songs, I like to leave the concepts a little bit open, but it's obviously somebody struggling with internal, they've got some internal strife, and whether it's outside forces influencing that as well. I don't want to, go too far, but you can sort of the introduction sort of tells you maybe this is a person who was bullied, who was ridiculed, and things like that, and all these things that build up within a person, and you don't know how that's going to come out and how that's going to react for different people, and I urge people. I mean, I have kids now, so I really always try to explain that to them and how to treat people properly. Even if it's somebody that you don't necessarily get along with, you treat people with respect, because you never know how those things are going to affect that person. And so that's sort of the way that Unworthy kind of opened itself up was really from that point of that person that maybe an introvert, that is, maybe you don't see how that your words or your actions are affecting that person, but in the end, they may be introverted, but all these things are going on inside their head, and you don't know what other influences they've got in their life. So, it is a cautionary tale. It truly is, and that's what it's intended to be.
That's a cool concept. Well, starting to wrap up with you, Matt. With Well of Souls now out, released to the world, what are the band's plans for the remainder of 2018?
Well, I plan on eating a lot during Thanksgiving. Yeah, so we're working on stuff right now, man. We're trying to nail down some potential show stuff. and we want to see how things are going with the label. Hopefully, they're going to keep us apprised of how things are going with sales and things like that, and see if there's any interest in doing some stuff overseas would be fantastic. But at this point, it really is sort of a waiting game for us.
Well, I hope you enjoy that Thanksgiving meal while you're waiting, man. Finally, what is the best way for fans to purchase music and merchandise from Ashes of Aries, including the new album, Well of Souls?
Well, you can either go to our labels, Rock of Angels Records. We have everything. There's all kinds of stuff digitally. You can get it on Amazon, pretty much all the majors. I know we're running behind a little bit on for the vinyl, but it's going to be out soon. We got black vinyl and a cool splatter vinyl that looks really rocking. And please, I can't urge people enough to buy physical product, because we put a lot, not only with the music, I think sounds so much better on physical, CD, whether it be CD or on LP, it just sounds so much better than just straight digital. Plus, we've, jammed this thing full of awesome artwork from Camille, man. I mean, the guy is just phenomenal. And he did a piece of art for every single song that just is beautiful. And I don't have it in my hand. I can't wait to have the physical copy in my hand as well. But I just know people are not going to be disappointed by buying the physical product. And a lot of times when you buy the physical, especially from Amazon or whatever, you get the digital anyway. So, please consider that, because it's very cool. I want everybody to see it. I want everybody to have the CD or the LP in their hand.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Get out there, buy Well of Souls. Not only will you get great music, great art, but you'll be helping support Ashes of Aries. Get out there to actually perhaps in the future do some live shows where you can see them live and get to meet these guys as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Well, Matt, it's been an honor to speak with you, and great album. So impressed and pleased with it, and looking forward to what's next for Ashes of Aries.
All right. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time.